OpenMediaVault is great for setting up a rock-solid NAS, but it can be a little bit clunky and the UI isn't the prettiest thing in the world. CasaOS, on the other hand, has a really easy-to-use web UI and looks great, but it lacks basic features, including RAID, for example. So if you're looking for a simple home server, which one do you go for? Well, why not both? Today, I'm going to attempt to install CasaOS on top of OpenMediaVault, and we'll see how that goes. That's not good. Oh boy. Hopefully it's simple and easy, but it might not be knowing how my videos go. What I do know is nice and simple is setting up a website, thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. I love using Squarespace, as you might know if you've watched a few of my videos, because it made setting up my website super easy. And one of the things that you may not realize Squarespace can help you with is getting a domain. Squarespace has hundreds of top-level domains, making it easy to find whatever domain works well for your project or business or whatever. And it takes a lot of the hassle out of dealing with domain registries and things like that, and just lets you get your site up and running. If you're like me and already had a domain, you can just transfer it over really easily. You can get started with Squarespace today with a free trial, and then whenever you're ready to pull the trigger, you can go to squarespace.com/hardwarehaven and use code hardwarehaven to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So what are you waiting for? Get started with your website today. OpenMediaVault is built on top of Debian Linux, and CasaOS can be installed on a variety of different operating systems, but the most supported is Debian Linux. So theoretically, I could just install OpenMediaVault and then run a short script and install CasaOS on top of that. Now, I don't know exactly how well that's going to work, and that's why this video is not a tutorial. So don't follow along, because I really don't even know how this is going to go. Now, one of the cool things about OpenMediaVault is that you can install it on pretty much whatever, from an old desktop computer to a laptop. But because this is more of a, I guess, software haven video, I'm just keeping it simple and using my Zima board with two 2TB hard drives. I'm going to be installing OpenMediaVault onto the eMMC storage, and then using the two 2TB drives in a RAID mirror for storage. And then hopefully, once I get OpenMediaVault installed, I can just run a simple script to install CasaOS, and we'll see what happens. If all that works out, I should have a really simple, solid NAS thanks to OpenMediaVault with a great web UI that I can access Docker containers and even the UI for OpenMediaVault, all from this nice, pretty CasaOS web UI. So let's go ahead and dive in and see if that's even possible. So I have the most recent version of OpenMediaVault saved to this Ventoy drive. So I'm just going to pop it into the Zima board, boot it up, and press F11 to get to the boot menu, and then get going from there. So hopefully I'll see you in a minute once I have OpenMediaVault installed. Come on, plug in, do it. Okay, this is the part of the video I cut out because I look like a doofus. All right, hostname, we'll make this CasaVault. I think that's fun. And we're going to install this onto the eMMC. Oh, there's already a RAID array there, whoops. So it looks like we are booted into OpenMediaVault, and we have an IP address of 192.168.10.213. So we're actually done with this keyboard. Let me get it out of the way here. Cool, and we don't need this monitor, so we can actually just head on over into a web browser and go to that IP address. And this should put us right here at our login. So I can type in admin and then OpenMediaVault. Sweet. And then I'm going to change the password. And then now kind of quickly and off camera, because it takes a while with all of the applying changes and such, if I remember correctly from using OpenMediaVault somewhat recently, I'm just going to go in, create a user, wipe, and then set up our RAID array with these two disks. And then we'll put a file system on them, and then set up a network share. So I'm going to do all that really quick, probably speed through it, and then I'll catch up with you guys after that. All right, so in OpenMediaVault, we have things set up now, I believe. Under disks, we can see our two disks. I wiped them and then set them up in a RAID 1 array. Made sure we had a file system, and then set up a share called CasaVault. And then under services, made sure the SMB service was enabled, and then under shares, set up this CasaVault share, and also made sure, oops, I forgot to show this. Under shared folders, I gave access to Haven, which is a user I created, and then in our File Explorer, I was able to hop over to CasaVault and access this CasaVault share. So pretty awesome. And I even copied over a few things here, just a quick video to make sure that this would work. I can see this video. That's cool. And then I made a media folder for some stuff we'll do in a bit. Now there's a couple things I'd like to do really quick in here before I go into installing CasaOS. And the first is going to be enabling SSH so that I can just remote into the terminal. And then the other is changing the web UI. Because when I go to this URL, I want to get to my CasaOS web UI, not the OpenMediaVault web UI. And I don't want those to conflict on port 80. So I'm going to change the port. I can't exactly remember where to do that. Okay, cool. Under Workbench, port 80. I'm going to change that to 180. And let's see what happens here. All right, we'll hit apply. And I don't know if this is going to reroute me or if I need to do that myself. So I'm going to go to 192.168.10.213 and then port 180. So not yet. That's not good. Oh boy. That's not what we wanted to see. All right, give me just a second. Okay, so I think I found a solution, but I need to log in via SSH, which is fortunately the thing we were going to do anyway. So hopefully SSH was enabled. Otherwise, that might be tricky. So I'm going to say SSH. We'll just do root 192.168.10.213. Yes. Password. Okay, and I should be able to type in OMV-first aid and configure web control panel. So it's configured to 80, or it says 80, but it's not working. I'm just gonna go back to 80 and see if we can get it working. Okay, so it says we can reach it on port 80. Let's see. Okay, so we didn't break it entirely. I'm going to try, I actually went ahead while it was loading. I pulled it up in SolarPutty because it's a little easier to read. I'm going to try that again. Oh boy. I think that's just it not liking this terminal. We'll do configure web panel. And instead of 80, I'm going to do, let's just do 80. 80? I'm not sure if 180 is a port that's being used by something else or something. 8080 should be open. Okay, it says it's reachable on 8080. Let's see if it's lying. Hey, it's not. Cool, so we should be able to type in admin, our password, and we're in. Well, cool. So now we have OpenMediaVault working. We have a user setup. We have a RAID array setup, and we have network shares. So we have a basic little NAS. What more could you want? Now we're going to try installing CasaOS, and that should be fairly simple. I'm going to go back into SolarPutty here, and we're going to type in, well, we need to do a few things first. I'm a root, so I don't need to do sudo, but I'm going to say apt update and apt upgrade -y. And this is going to take quite a bit of time, I imagine. Maybe not, since it was a new install, but I think this version of OpenMediaVault is a little bit old at this point, so we'll see. Okay, postfix configuration. No configuration. I don't really know. I've never used postfix for anything, so I don't think we need it. Maybe it's something that's integrated into OpenMediaVault that I've just never utilized before. Ooh, it might be for like notifications. So I don't know, we might have broken that. We'll see. I wonder if the web UI actually has. I've never checked. Does this have an updater? Oop, I probably should have just updated everything in the web UI first. That might have been smart. Okay, configuration file / etc default monet distrib. What would you like to do about it? I'm just gonna say yes. Or install the maintainer's version. We'll hope for the best. Okay, so it looks like that's all done. I'm actually going to reboot the system really quick, and then I'll meet you back once it's done. All right, so after a quick reboot, I'm gonna give installing CasaOS a shot. Oh, actually, I don't even know if I have curl on. I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna say apt install curl really quick. Okay, and now we're gonna give this a shot. Let's see if it works. So curl and then -fs and then capital S, capital L, https://git.casaos.io, and then we'll pipe that into bash and hit enter. All right, and we'll let this run for a little bit and see what happens. Hopefully something good. Hopefully something good. Hey, and that's a good sign. So we have CasaOS installed, I think. Let's go to the URL and see what happens. We'll paste it. I'm gonna do hard refresh here. Aha, there we go. Nice. Okay. Everything CasaOS for the web UI, because this is not a Linux user. This is just a web UI user. Okay. Seems like we're in. This is actually one thing I was curious about. This found a new drive. If I go to Storage Manager, it shows these 2 disks. Oh, interesting. It shows these as 2 disks, but it's actually showing the mount MD0, or this RAID array MD0. So yeah, I'm not really sure. That's interesting. If I go to Files, yeah, so this is just, both of these are taking me to the same thing. Interesting. Hey, well, that's not bad. I mean, it looks like we can access our RAID array, which makes sense because CasaOS is just using, or sorry, OpenMediaVault is just using MDADM, I think. I don't know how you actually pronounce it. But that's just like a built-in Linux utility for, I think it's built in, for creating RAID arrays. So that makes sense that this is all sort of accessible by everything. But okay, let's see. Now I'm curious, if we go back to OpenMediaVault, is that gonna work still? Okay, yeah. Seems like, oh, pending configuration changes. I didn't change anything. Show details. Following modules will be updated. Oh, I wonder if this is just because I ran apt update. I'm just gonna hit yes. If it wasn't clear up to this point, I don't know what I'm doing. This is totally just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what happens. So we'll give that a minute. I'm gonna go back to CasaOS. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to open up the App Store here. And let's just, I'm actually going to, in this here, I'm going to create a new folder. This will be a good chance to see if permissions work. I'm going to call this Docker. And then within that, I'm going to make one called Home Assistant and make one called Jellyfin. Because I would prefer to set these up using my RAID storage. That way, if one of these drives, if my eMMC storage fails, I could technically just, bring these 2 drives back up into a OpenMediaVault install and get things back up and running. So back in the App Store, I'm going to go ahead and install Home Assistant, install Jellyfin. This is also another thing with CasaOS that I wish you could do is, I want to say, okay, Jellyfin, yeah. I want to install Jellyfin, but I don't want you to just immediately install it. I want to have an option there to put my own information in without running the container and then having to go back and rerun the container. So, yes, we'll let those go. Our CPU is doing some serious stuff here. OpenMediaVault seems like it's done doing its thing, though, so that's cool. Our network share is still working. We'll refresh CasaOS and see if we have a Jellyfin here. So I'm going to go here, and under these volumes, I'm actually going to change this config folder to... Another thing about CasaOS, give me access to my other drives here. So we'll just duplicate this, go to Files, click on this guy, click on this, and then Jellyfin, copy path. And then here under the config, I'll just paste that. And then for media, I'm going to do the same thing and paste. There we go. So now if we run this, everything else looks good. Oh, I'm going to add, just like I did in my CasaOS tutorial with the Zima board, I'm going to add this dev/deri. I think that's right. And we'll hit high CPU shares. Why not? And restart unless stopped. I think everything else is good. We'll hit save. And then same thing for Home Assistant. I'm going to go into settings and keep everything the same, except I'm going to change this config folder to be this guy. Okay, let's see if we can get Jellyfin up and running. A movie library. And we should be able to grab our movies folder. And then same for shows. It's looking good. Looking good. We'll give it a second to do its thing. Actually, I'm going to go in here to dashboard, playback, and enable quick sync. If you're curious about how I'm doing any of this stuff, you can check out, well, for OpenMediaVault, you can check out my $150 NAS video I did, where I talk a little bit more about OpenMediaVault. And then for CasaOS, especially CasaOS with the Zima board, you can check out my CasaOS tutorial where I set this all up using the same Zima board I'm using right now. Yeah, so we should have hardware acceleration now. So if I go home, seems like this may just need some time to scan everything. Okay, yeah, it's still scanning. We'll give it a second. In the meantime, we can go to Home Assistant. Looks like that is working. Okay, so here I have, it pulled this up as Christmas lights. It's not Christmas lights anymore, but it's a smart plug over here behind me, and you can see I can turn it on and off with Home Assistant. Pretty cool. Love Home Assistant. All right, and then back in Jellyfin, I'm going to play some Knives Out because this will definitely need transcoding. All right, and it seems to be playing back pretty smoothly here with no real issues. Transcoding seems to be working, and we can see we're not hitting the CPU. So yeah, so far it seems like most things are working as expected. Not a whole lot of issues or anything. So I think I might kind of mess around for a little bit on my own just to see if I can find anything that breaks, and then I'll come back. So yeah. Okay, so I've been spending some time here in CasaOS and OpenMediaVault, and so far everything seems to be working pretty well. So on our dashboard here, we obviously have our app store and files, but I set up a few things. One of them is you can actually, it's kind of cool. You can go to add external link. And, you know, if I wanted to go to google.com, this is not super interesting, but, you know, you can go just grab an image, pop it in here, hit connect. And then now if I hit this, it'll just take me to Google. So that's not that exciting, but it is kind of nice that I can drop in these OpenMediaVault links for storage, for example. I still have to sign in. I'm not entirely sure why it's making me sign in every time, but it at least takes me directly to the storage portion of OpenMediaVault. So it's kind of nice that I still have some buttons on the web UI there to just immediately jump into OpenMediaVault. I also set up PhotoPrism and just dropped in a few pictures here that you can also see in my CasaVault share under photos. I have these pictures here. And it's just a few various pictures I popped up there, like my little kiddo here and our dog. It's cute. And then this monstrosity of a picture. This is from something upcoming, so stay tuned. It's going to be fun. But yeah, PhotoPrism works great. Labels work. I'm not going to click on some of this stuff because it's going to show some stuff I don't want it to show. But yeah, we obviously have Home Assistant running, Jellyfin running, and then I also set up Sync Thing just to try to find some things that would sort of utilize our storage. And so this is set up right now. I also have Sync Thing running on my desktop from a folder. I sometimes use this fake downloads folder because I don't want to take the time during tutorials and videos to clean out my actual downloads folder. So I have this, and you can see here, if I just duplicate this file maybe. Yeah, there we go. We can probably see this. Yeah, there we go. And Two things, I'm having to run this as root right now just because I didn't want to sort out some permissions issues, because I probably would set this up a little bit in a different way. Long story short, I could have done some more setup, but this is actually pushing files to this app data sync thing, config, and then right here, here's actually where, oh, it's because it made a shortcut of it. Oops, I see. I just made a shortcut. I meant to copy paste. Yeah, but you see, you get the point. I'm actually going to try to get this to work on this. Give me 1 second. And it's syncing. Yay! And now if we go to files, oh, I also added this little CasaVault file browser here. You can click on this. You can set up a different password, but it's just a little nice little easy to go to file browser just for the Casa thing. But I'm going to go to files, go to Docker, sync thing, and desktop, and we can actually see now here is our sync, and it's happening on our RAID device instead. So I fixed that. I set it up in a slightly better way. Still not the best way, but I was just trying to kind of get things up and running somewhat quickly for this video. But yeah, it seems to be working fairly well. I've rebooted this a couple times now with no real issues. I definitely wouldn't recommend this for like a long-term thing as like your main and only NAS, but if you're wanting to kind of mess around with it, yeah, it might be worth a shot just to see how well it works. I don't know if an update to CasaOS or an update to OpenMediaVault might, kill this whole thing, but for now it seems to be running decently well, and I think the way that OpenMediaVault and CasaOS work seem to not really step on the toes of one another, so maybe it could work pretty well. So yeah, this was just a fun little experiment. Nothing too serious. Let me know in the comments though if this is something you are considering trying out, or if you have other options or thoughts of what you would do. I don't have a script and I'm just rambling at this point, but hopefully this was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed taking a look at this and maybe you want to try it out for yourself. If so, I'll have links to OpenMediaVault and CasaOS in the description below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay curious, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.